this story. May the Lord bless you so, so much. So, growing up, I was born on 1972. My mother is Teresia Wambui. My father is Peter Ngige. So when you are pronouncing our vernacular names, you drop the first letter. That's how it will sound better. Like my name, N is silent, Ngige is silent. So you don't say Ningige or Ningeri or Mabogo. You drop the first letter and you are there to go. So, and I have 4 siblings, and my brother is deceased as I am talking. He died in 2017. And at 2 years old, when I was 2 years old, my parents separated. And my mother used to receive beatings from my father, and she ran away into my grandmother's house. You can be able to see the pictures being displayed there. And actually, this is the place where I grew up from. And these pictures are very new. They were taken yesterday. So this is how the place looks like. You can see my house. Okay, this is a neighbor's house, but there is that one structure, this one. This is where we grew up from. And you can see the land there is green. Today, there are those high-rise buildings that have come up. They were not there before, but there were still other beautiful buildings that were facing us. So we used to stay in the valley, and ahead of us, there were these high tall buildings, and behind us, there were also these other buildings. The slum area has grown. Now they have even built other structures, as you can see. So my mother would go to my grandmother's house, and then she would go back to my father, of course, carrying all of us, and then she would receive another beating. So it was like things that were happening very oftenly. So this one time she was beaten, and her jaws were broken, and she ran away. And I understand that she was actually half naked when she ran away. And oh, that was something. But she went to my grandmother's home again, and later she decided to live her own life, and she rented a small wooden house, and that is the wooden house you have seen. So that is my mother there, and that is me, my brother and his friend, my sister Rosemary, and my younger sister Mother, and this baby here is my cousin's son. So we had visited our brother who was in grade 10, and that was the last picture we took with our mother. So my grandmother was very poor, and so, my mother, when she rented that house there, she also lived with her siblings. So we lived together with my 2 uncles, a cousin, and 1 aunt. And we have grown up together, sleeping up in the same bed. And we had 2 beds. And I used to sleep on one side with my cousin, and my sister Rosemary was sleeping on the other side with my uncle. So one bed, we were 4 of us. And the other bed, my younger sister, my brother, my uh, my aunt, and my other uncle. So if you have read my sister's book, she says that our legs were meeting at the middle, of course. So anyway, I don't know who made that setting, but I can tell you, we were young, and it wasn't an issue. So, well, my mother was working at night, and so she used to sleep in the morning when we leave to go to school. In 1980, we were informed that my father had died. He became ill, and he had married another wife. And even though before he died, he was coming to visit, they were still not together. And that's how my younger sister was born, during the visits. So my mother was not allowed to attend his burial by the family, because they said she was involved in her sickness. I don't know how. And so after that, we lived our life, and my mother put us all of us, the 8 of us, to school. And education, you can see, that was from, I think was Form 3 in the school that I attended, which was in Nairobi County. So life was good in school, and we had books because our parents were buying books and uniforms, and we had those uniforms, even if sometimes they were tattered, and even though she struggled to put food on the table, at least we had one meal in a day, and that was dinner. We were neighboring prisons land. That area you saw bananas and maize, very green. It is prisons land. And so we used to wake up in the morning and to get some mangoes, some sugarcane, guavas, right, bananas to carry to school for lunch. And we were very careful not to be caught by our mother, because actually that was stealing. And she wouldn't even want her children to be stealing. And so one day, with a group of other kids, I had stolen some mangoes, and from somebody's land, and I ran, and I was caught. So we ran away, and I ran, and I remember that man running after me, and I went into that house and closed the door, and somehow God saved me there. He never caught me. He was holding my hand, and I am, there is this wooden door, and I am there, and he never caught me. Anyway, he went. And so my sister Rosemary was also caught by a policeman stealing maize. And she was even taken to the police station. And she said, yes, I was stealing because we were hungry. That was food for lunch, and she was released. So my mom encouraged us to study smart. And I remember one day she said, my children, if you want to go to America to study, there is a lot of money in the bank. And I thought my mom was very wealthy. I thought she had a lot of money in the bank. And so, and the truth is, we were going to school without shoes. We were stealing to fed for our hungry stomachs. And yet when she said that, my mom is very rich. Anyway, 8 of us were educated, and she made sure and insisted that even though she never went to school, she only had a 1 year of nursery school education, because my grandmother was poor and she was widowed and she couldn't educate. She struggled to educate her boys together with my mother, so she couldn't educate girls. And that's how my mom even got married at a very early age, when she was working in a coffee plantation, and got married to the supervisor of the coffee place. So so actually I went to a day high school for 2 years and later transferred to a Nairobi high school. And it was in the school, the picture that you saw, I gave my life to Christ, and life changed for me. I was appointed as the Christian Union chair lady and the head girl of the school. And I shared the great news with my mother and my siblings, and they were all excited. And about the new development, I was praying and trusting God that my mother would stop working in a pub, because she was working in a pub and coming home drunk. And we were always scared, because we didn't know what will happen when she is traveling at night to come. It was very scary. And so she actually stopped and started a small business of selling groceries in our new home, because we later relocated. And so this was a great miracle and a transformation from a slum area to now living in Nairobi, where she had managed to build a two brick roomed house. That was transformation. I think you saw the picture. We are there together, and all of us in this house. It is one of those pictures there. So anyway, so in the new location, she resolved to going back working in a pub, because life was difficult there. It was new, there were no businesses. She was struggling to sell her groceries, and she went back to the village because the village was developed and there were so many people there. And so the pubs were also very many. No wonder the place is known as Kiambu. Kiambu means when people get mugged and they become drunk and they start fighting, there is a certain sound. You know, if somebody is killing you, the sound that you remove is called boo in Kikuyu. So that's why the name Kiambu, that's how Kiambu is named after that name. You know, my mom had no certificate or any education to get her a decent job. And I think that's how she was able to go back to the pub, and with her small salary and tips given by the drunkards, you know. So my mother one day became ill and hospitalized with a headache, and we got to know she was sick and could not walk about after 2 weeks. And she was changed into a district hospital, into a referral hospital, and she passed away when I was 19 years, 5 months after I completed my high school. So after that, I got employed, and you have seen pictures of me very young working. And also, as a result, and because I also never went to college, I got employed by a distant relative through one of my uncles. I became a mother, and life was difficult for myself and my siblings. At that time, my uncles were in a position to fend for themselves because they had some jobs, but they couldn't fend for us because they had married and now were taking care of their young children, and so, and also catering for their wives. So I was concerned about my three siblings. And my brother was in grade 10, my younger sister was in grade 8, and my elder sister was in her second year at the university. I had thought that through the job that I got, I would take care of my siblings. But it was a surprise because my relative would pay me about $8 per month, and it was difficult even to get transport money, food money. And so I started having many troubles. And my brother, you know, would tell me to buy him clothes, and you know, I couldn't buy him anything. And we started fighting, you know, like arguing with my brother. And some days he was not talking to me, and so life was miserable. And so I started to desire getting out of our house to get married. So, and also, I also had some migraine headaches. And so I started even praying and telling God, now I want to leave this house and get married. Probably if I get married, things will change, you know. And I said to myself, if somebody approaches me and asks me for a hand in marriage, I will, you know, I will take it. It took me 3 months. And one day, my sister was dating, and she was, at that time, she was doing her internship in a high school somewhere. And she got to meet a man who was preaching in a train fellowship. And she's outgoing, you know her. She talked to this man, and this man was invited to our house. So this man came over, and as we were talking, they started to tell me about the train fellowship. They invited me for this train fellowship. But when my this man left our house, he left me with an address, and his address was very enticing. And he said, I know your mom has passed away, and I want to take care of you and your siblings. And his address was reading his name and where he works, and office of the president, and he is an accountant, and he was a born again Christian. So when he told me that I love your sister Rosemary, but I love you with a special kind of love, I just found myself falling for this guy, you know. Remember, I was suffering and I was going through issues, and I thought a savior had come. So that is actually how I got married. And with the help of my family, my church, we managed to plan a wedding, and we got married on 14th June 1994. And so I gave birth to my daughter. You can see my daughter here. She's now grown up, and that is Victor, her cousin. And so I gave birth, and that was the happiest day of my life. And I thought that I would love this guy more um, because of my daughter. This was a drama in one of the schools for my daughter, so we had attended. So my daughter, after giving birth, at only 5 months, she became ill and she was hospitalized. And I asked my husband to, because I knew he had money somewhere, and I asked him to, of course, to bill. It was his responsibility to bill the bill. But my husband told me, I don't have money and I don't have anyone in my family who can help you. So you will need to call your boss. And remember, my boss was paying me very little money. So I couldn't be able to offset this bill. So I called my boss, and my boss came and paid the bill for my daughter. And so we had so many struggles. And you have seen a picture. This picture is me there. Oh, and that is Eva, my daughter, at only 8 months, and these are family members. This picture here, I was married, and there were struggles. And my boss asked me, "What is happening? Because you are losing weight. What is happening?" And I told him my husband resigned, and he was given a lump sum like early retirement plan money, and it was a lot of money, but he misused the money, and he could not even afford to offset the bill of my daughter. And so we had disagreement. And I remember he told me, I would want to employ your husband. And he did employ my husband because he was operating three like CVS pharmacies, and he also had a baby company that was coming up. So he was employed as a marketer. And within 1 year, the guy had taken the money, and and they realize they are missing about 300,000 Kenyan shillings, like $3,000 today. So that's how my boss fired the guy, and he said that he want to put him on jail. And so the guy was telling me, no, now we have to run away, you have to stop working. And I said, I am not stopping, I'm not going to stop working. Anyway, we separated, and uh, and I continued to work, and that's how I worked for 14 years. Of course, things became better. You can see my pictures with my baby here already as a single mom, and I raised her well. We were comfortable somehow, but I realized that I am working too much. I actually worked 10 years in that company without resting. I am working 12 hours a day without rest, and I am not even going to church. So I decided I want to resign because I was feeling like God is no longer in me. I have a comfortable life. You can see I'm looking better, and my boss kept me very well. He gave me a vehicle, he gave me an apartment. My younger sister, because I was living with her, she was also employed in the same company. We lived so well. We had everything. ah, I decided now, yes, I have everything, but where is God in my life? So I started praying, and I knew that I needed to serve the Lord. So I decided to resign, but it took me 7 years to think about resigning, and also thinking about how I will inform my boss that I am resigning and where am I going. And so I actually resigned in December 2006 and went to a location to start life afresh. And I prayed for a church, and I got a good church, good pastors and friends. And I was struggling with bitterness for my ex-husband because I could not believe how he is surviving, without his daughter, because eventually he ran away and he took everything, and he didn't want us to know where he went. And I'm here waiting 7 years for us to reconcile, because even though I still needed, to do it in the right way, I didn't want to separate with him. I waited for reconciliation, but it never happened. Anyway, when I was in Gom, already I had taken my daughter into a good boarding school, and these are children who had come from my family. They had come to visit me when I was working there, and so life was good there, but I didn't have God. So I went to a place and started life again, and I told God, I want to serve you. And that is where I went to this church and met this pastor, and the pastor advised me. I had a lot of baggages and bitterness, and so he told me he went through counseling with me. And one pastor came and preached about forgiveness, and I decided to forgive my husband. After I forgave him, life started moving, and I felt better in my heart. And I even started serving in this church. And I went into the hospitality department, and then that's where Stephen Bogo met me one of those days, and he asked me to apply for a position of an administrator at By Grace Orphanage. I didn't have any certificate. Remember, I didn't go to college, and so I was feeling like, okay, they may not give me this position because it was a higher position. And when I went there, they actually gave me a position of a house mother. And it also happened that they wanted me to live there with the children, and I didn't want to live there with the children because I was suffering with how do I distribute this love to all these kids. But anyway, you have seen a picture of By Grace kids. This is the children that I met. There were 24 of them. That's me there. I am Kat there. You can see Alice Duko. Some of them, you can see Paris. Chris is also there next to me. Oh my goodness. So I went there and I loved these children. After 6 months, the Lord, I had something saying, this is where I want you to serve me. And I asked the Lord to serve these children, and they have all these issues. How am I going to love them? I was counseling them. I was loving them. I was going to look for food. And I actually felt convinced and fulfilled to live there with these children. And I was teaching them, and I thought I need to go back to school for the sake of these kids because they had issues, and I needed some skills. So that is how I went to do my diploma in Christian ministries for the sake of the children. And that was it. And then I meet this dean at the university, and she tells me, Hannah, do you know you can become a doctor in 10 years? And I asked, where did that come from? I even laughed in disbelief. But I had written it at the back of my book. And then, of course, after 2 years, I graduated, and this is one of the missionaries who had come to visit By Grace Kids. And she told me, Hannah, you can transfer your credits and do a degree in 2 years. So that's how I did my degree. And then my sister was here in the US, and she used to bring missionaries there every year. I meet these guys who love the kids. I mean, the children were very happy to meet them. And I said, I would want to visit where these people are coming from because I want to know, how are you able to love these kids? Because when you are there with them, you don't see the love. But when visitors come, embrace them, and they feel so good, they feel warm, I felt like there is something I'm missing. There is something I'm lacking. So that's how I wanted to come to America, to see guys and see how I can be built so that I can bring it back to Kenya. So anyway, the journey for coming here started. My sister told me, because you have a master's program, she actually motivated me to do a master's program and gave me a loan through By Grace. And I did a master's program so that I can also lead the children well, and the staff and everybody. And of course, I was promoted from becoming a house mother to now becoming a manager. And that's how I was able to come to the US to do my doctorate degree, because my sister Rosemary also pushed me, because I had told her, my dean told me, you can be a doctor for 10 years. You're in 10 years. So my sister told me, because you told me that, I decided to push you so that this prophecy can come true. Anyway, that's how I came here. And I am now in my 4th year. I am writing, I am doing my dissertation, and I plan to finish in 1 year. And after my studies, I know I will depend on God. It has taken God even to have scholarships. And and I know God is going to lead me. The way may be full of twists and darkness, and I may not see ahead. But I know that when I go to Kenya, to read these children. Some of them are grown up, and we still have some kids that have joined the praise. These are kids. Some of them are there, and some are teenage mothers. So this is a current picture of how By Grace is now. And we have this program of teenage mothers and their children that are being educated there. So these ones you can see is a real transformation. We are already here in the US, and I know and I trust God. He will lead me, and my desire is to go back to Kenya to give back, because actually that was my prayer. I come, become equipped, and go back. But I choose to remain, focused to God, so that He can lead me to where to go. I can go to Rwanda. I can remain here. So I don't know where God will lead me. My heart is open, And so that is my story. And I may have struggled with issues, but I have seen the Lord. I have seen the Lord even as I struggle. And the scriptures that keep me going is Matthew 17:20, Philippians 4:19, Psalm 46:10, Matthew 6:24, and many others. They keep me going because I feel they are talking substance to me. Like Matthew 17:20, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can move mountains. So, and that has been my guiding scripture. I believe that even moving a mountain to buy air ticket and be able to travel to America to come and do a doctorate degree, it is having small faith as that of a mustard seed. So I'm here, and I am so grateful to Biola Granada Heights Church. And when I see you guys, you can see what we are doing there. You have seen those buildings. It is because of what you give that has enabled us to be where we are, and the kids are doing so well. And I am excited. I am so happy to see the work ongoing, and also to know that Granada Heights is a big, supporter of this ministry. So I want to give that up to Jude Wills, because Jude Wills has been used by God. When I was going through my divorce issues, she came to Kenya in 2011, and I shared my story. She gave me an envelope of 8,000 Kenya shillings, and that was what was needed to clear for my divorce. It was a lot of money. I had paid a lot of money, but she's the one who helped me to clear this bill. And then when she came again in 2019, May, she left me with a suitcase. So that was faith. And I started saying, oh, am I going to America? Because going to America is a miracle. It's a miracle, let me tell you guys. It's a miracle. So, and it happened. And I lived in her house. She fed me, gave me food, everything, clothing, everything. I salute her. I know she's not here, she's sick, but she's my American mom. I also want to thank Dee Hamilton and Dr. Obi, because when I came here, they guided me and they helped me. Dee gave me this laptop. Thank you, Dee. And Dr. Obi also guided me to the committee. And that's how I was taken in to do my doctorate degree with a 75% scholarship. And she has been with me. And I also want to thank God for Sherry Horak. Sherry Horak decided to sponsor my daughter. That's how my daughter completed her high school and did her first 2 years of university education. And all the sponsors that have sponsored kids like Chris and other sponsors I can see here, you've sponsored my children at By Grace and many others. Your money is never in vain. And may the Lord bless you. I don't know what I can tell you. I'll just say, may the Lord bless you, may He keep you, and may His face shine upon you all the days of your lives.
Thank you. Thank you very much. To see how God works.